This is JD, and I appreciate the opportunity to share this new concept with you. These are called the four competition isolations. The four competition isolations. Now, let's talk about the significance of competition isolation. You know, in the industry that you're in, there are two types of businesses. One is there's the dilapidated, fossilized business that has a lot of what we call old forms. In other words, the way that they do business is old school. Think of the record business versus iTunes. Every industry has a commoditization trap. Commoditization means that more and more the old form of business is being replaced by creative thinking, new forms of business, new client experiences that are highly crucial to those audiences. So what happens to the old form business models is there's less meat on the bone. In other words, there's less margin. There's more work involved. And more you have to compete on price. It feels like the behavior of your audience is just coming at you, and all they're considering is price differentiation. And if price differentiation is the only area where you can compete, you're going to have to do an enormous amount of volume to get economies of scale and remain profitable. The alternative is to shift the whole way in which you approach your business. In other words, operate in your business from the right brain. And that means that you are going to invent, create, and emerge a whole new experience, almost like an experience monopoly, where you are the one and only opportunity, individual, organization that provides a significant experience that is crucial to the audience, and they know that they can't get it anywhere else. So you're not replaceable, duplicatable, outsourceable. You have a complete advantage over the competition. But what this involves is something enormous in how you operate. So I'm going to get you there, but let's talk about these four different isolations so that you see the four different ways in which you can establish this position. It's like a moving target, and you're always ahead of the competition. The first way you can do it is through your product. Now, price is going to be obviously more sensitive on the product side, but you can differentiate in terms of your product, especially if you have a 10-to-1 advantage. If the advantages of your product are so better in quality and style and manner than the competition, then you have a great advantage of people buying what you're doing at a premium, and therefore you can make more margin or attempt to do it at a lesser cost. Here's a good example. You know, we've all pretty much figured out how to make a fly swatter, but recently I picked up an electronic fly swatter, and the capability I have is that the actual mesh of the fly swatter is electronic, and much like a zapper, it attracts the fly to it. So the fly actually tends to land on it, and then of course you just you just sit there and it goes zzz, and just gets zapped by the whole thing. Now, this electronic fly swatter is $30 on the market, as opposed to an old fly swatter that is, you know, $1, $1.50. So I'm going to pay $29 more for the convenience of not having to move around and try to slap that fly and break my back and cause an accident, and that's valuable to me, and I've never found anything like it. It's like a specialty item. It's a novelty item, and I'm willing to buy it. And now I understand that electronic fly swatters are really catching on. It's a whole emerging opportunity in that industry, and the old fly swatters are the old form. The new form is the electronic fly swatter. So you can differentiate on product. If you can do economies of scale and sell a lot of it, and price is going to be a piece of this, but you may be able to have a superior product. Number two is your service. We are in the era of service. And what a lot of companies will do is they'll say, you know, we provide outstanding service. And you can do that. And there are certain service mixtures. There are certain ways to compose your service experience so that, yes, you provide outstanding service, better than the competition. You take extra care of people. You pay attention to the details. But you know, the truth is today, service, high levels of service is normal. Excellence is expected. A while ago, excellence used to be the differentiator, that we could be excellent, we could be better at something than the competition, but excellence is necessary, not sufficient. So let's move on to number three, the third competition isolator. The third competition isolator is called the unique experience or the unique process. And what it reinforces is that today, in the 21st century, as a business owner, You're really an experience creator, much like Andrew Lloyd Webber creating a show. You're there to create an experience that provides high sensory input to your audience. Wow factor. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're positioning yourself in their eyes as a unique and different and unusual experience that they've never seen before. So the old idea of having just a bunch of systems that increase consistency and quality is just not good enough, because automation is the vocational death sentence. If you're going after just a full automation strategy, you may be able to build a business up for a while that's valuable in the marketplace to sell it. But over the long term, really what it's about is it's about endless creativity, endless adaptation, endless offerings that you try, and the ones that work you stick with, and the ones that don't you pull really fast before they cost you. So what this is about is developing a unique process. And the unique process emerges, and it emerges into a new form in the industry. And if it's crucial to the client group, then the clients move from the old form to the new form, and it starts to emerge as the new thing. Again, I go back to the records and iTunes. It's the finest example. I mean, look at it. Steve Jobs came up with this whole iTunes thing. In fact, he did it back when the Mac came out. Everybody wanted to have a Mac back in the 80s and 90s. And then Bill Gates got a hold of Windows, and he pretty much cloned or repackaged the way that the Mac system worked, and he called it Windows. So there's always new forms that are emerging. And the challenge, the tragedy for entrepreneurs is when we get stuck in that old form and we get caught up in that commoditization trap where there's no longer any room for extraordinary value creation. And all the investment, all the talent, all of the financial opportunity goes into the new form. And so we want to always be bypassing that old form and going into new forms kind of in a land of your own on your own testing instruments. In other words, you're always testing unique and innovative ideas and unique processes, so you're never, never, never satisfied, and everything is practice. And what these entrepreneurs do is that they mix it up. They try new ideas. They involve their work group in this ideas on all levels about trying new extensions of their process, from the beginning in the way that they initiate with the customer to the end in the way that they perpetuate the loyalty and create a lifetime customer. So throughout the entire show, through all touch points with the customer, this unique process runs consistent. In other words, whatever values or whatever principles underscore the unique process, the customer on the outside externally experiences that message. So what's competition isolator number 4? Well, competition isolator number 4 is building a unique community. You see, what can happen here is that you begin to take your unique process and you intellectually capitalize it. In other words, we take a name and we put it on everything that's in your process. So, for example, we call this the competition isolation. We have something called the exponential value cycle. We have something called the A&E time system. We have something called the 4 freedoms. And all of these things are authentic concepts and ideas and strategies that we own. And what the unique community is about is it's similar to going and immersing yourself in a country and learning the language. When you get there, you begin to assimilate consciously and unconsciously a new language. And you'll notice that when you start to throw these names around, your customers begin to use them like day-to-day talk. So let's say they're talking to a new opportunity. Essentially, they're volunteer salespeople. They're beginning to turn non-believers into true believers of your core work. And they know that they can't get that property anywhere else, and that property defines you. It's terrific because this whole unique community of followers and raving fans begin to walk the earth. They're a great source of referrals, a great source of innovation and new ideas. They'll also protect you from anybody ripping you off, because if they're out there and they're looking at it, they're so appreciative of what you have, and they know that it's so special and significant and unique. They feel privy to a great membership of your ideas in a sense. And in being true fans and members, they want the real McCoy. They don't want any duplicators. They don't want any attempts at doing what you're doing. So they're going to protect that. They're going to preserve that. They're members of your clan. So I believe that's the highest of the highest. If you want to go all the way in competition isolation, what you do is you might even start with service differentiation, and then you start mastering all the optimization areas there. Lay out all the impact areas in your service experience, and then dramatically improve week to week your excellence in that area. Take all your scripts, your forms, take all of your checklists, and make sure that you got your act together in all of that. But that's not sufficient. That's necessary. But let's jump to another level. Let's go to becoming an intellectual capitalist who now defines a unique process. And what you do is you take advantage of speed and innovation. We don't get too structured in too much systemization. We balance out structure with new forms. So here's where art and structure come together in the finest way. It's a fine dance. You've got to have enough structure to keep control and manage what you're doing, but you also have to lead into new territory, follow your employees' imaginations home, and you as well, and try to come up with new breakthroughs, new ideas, and fiddle around with them. And then the speed component is to pull out of the ones that aren't working, and the ones that you do, when you prototype them like the real thing, you get very fast feedback, and if it's working, you continue to go with it, galvanize it, and make it into a system. And so this is this process of constant turnover of old forms into new forms so that you emerge into a unique process that only you can provide and no one can get it anywhere else. And then the fourth isolator is the unique community, where now we're taking a group of people on the earth and we are helping them absorb a new language, a new way of thinking, a new way of life, so that they are the way of your being. They are being your way. So a lot of businesses know that they're changing behavior on these levels. Look at IKEA. They're not only changing the way people take home furniture and the way they buy it, but there's an entire lifestyle that goes with IKEA, and they know this. So if you think about it, look at the technology field. Look at the way the internet companies are being built, or look what Microsoft is doing, or look what Apple Computer is doing. All industries are faced with fossilized forms. And it's important that we stay lean enough that we're able to adapt quickly when these new opportunities begin to take hold of our consciousness. We may get an inkling, we may get a whisper in our sleep. It's like hearing a lyric or a new song and then trusting it out. And we begin to deliver new music, new songs. The unique community is similar to how a band takes a song and then creates a form of music. And then we staple that form of music. I mean, if you think about it, Gothic rock, or what is arena rock, or what is a very specific type of Cuban jazz or Latin jazz? What happened was we ignited it with a certain type of song, and then that song started to collect more songs just like it, and then that became a whole community of listeners that were fans of that particular type of music. And there are some groups and bands that just hold that particular type of music. It is their type of music. They create new forms, almost a whole new genre. If you were to walk into a record store, imagine if you walked into one from the past, you'd see that form of music because those songs emerged into that community. And you can become a trendsetter in that community, but it starts with putting together intellectual property and assembling it in such a certain way where your individuals that are experiencing it internally, externally, they begin to immerse themselves in a whole new language, a whole new way of being and thinking, and then they begin to turn other people on to adopting these things into their life, and they become like voluntary salespeople. So there are the four different ways that you can be competitive and isolate yourself from any threats of commoditization. The four different competition isolations.